Welcome to Business Class. I'm Steve Ekstrom from Learn Tourism, a nonprofit academy dedicated to advancing the tourism industry through innovative training and sustainable practices. Our mission? To empower travel professionals and communities with the knowledge they need to create meaningful, authentic, and sustainable tourism experiences. Ready to join us on this journey? Visit learntourism.org and start making a difference today. Steve Ekstrom here, host of the Business Class podcast, and today's guest, John David, with Sports ETA, joins me to share a little bit of his insight and experience working at the intersection of sports, tourism, and adventure.
Hey, sports guy, man, always. Thank you so much, Stephen. It's an honor to be here. Really enjoy the show, and just again, just a pleasure to join you this morning.
For those who don't know, what is Sports ETA?
The Sports ETA is the Sports Events and Tourism Association. It was founded way back in 1992. Started actually as 12 sports commissions that got together that were doing a similar mission and just realized that they needed to share and trade expertise and network together to grow. Quickly from there, evolved into more than just sports commissions as we saw DMOs bringing in staff to really support promoting sports tourism and so forth. So now the association comprises over 700 members, which includes three categories of membership. Our destination members, which are traditional sports commissions, our CVBs, park and recreation. We've got our rights holder members. That's everything from NCAA to USA Gymnastics and to every sport in between. And then, of course, our great industry partners. Industry partners are our hotel chains, our third parties, our technology providers. It's a really unique trade association that covers that intersection of sports and tourism, but has a really wide tent with everybody underneath it that we network and educate and work together. One of the things that we certainly love to advocate are the results of our State of the Industry report, which were just fabulous. The numbers, $52.2 billion in total impact. So any opportunity of that kind of impact of sports tourism into the global tourism spectrum, that any prompts like that would be outstanding because we enjoy the opportunity to share those numbers because they're so strong.
I think we're going to use that quote and put it in the podcast. What's the biggest change you've seen in sports tourism since the organization was founded?
Honestly, I would tell you the impact of both the recession and the pandemic. In those moments, sports tourism was this shining light of hope. I myself been with Sports ETA for only a year now. Just had my first year anniversary, and during the pandemic time was with the national governing body, and we were one of the first entities out there to safely host major national tournaments. And I'll tell you a great story, Stephen. I remember calling a GM of a hotel because at that time there were no salespeople. Really, that's all you could get a hold of. And told them, hey, we're coming and we're going to be there in 30 days. We need some rooms. What can we do? And the GM literally started crying because they were so thankful for that business that we were bringing to the table. And that's what sports did. It repeated itself over town where it did not have quite the dip that other verticals did. And it really showed itself to be this great piece of business. So to me, what we're seeing now is massive investment in private equity that's come in town that have recognized the benefits of sports tourism. And we're really seeing DMOs across the country lean into sports tourism, recognizing the strength that this vertical has.
How did you end up in the tourism industry at the vertical that is sports?
I think it's so funny because I've certainly listened to several of your podcasts. I think everybody that's in this space says it will just by happenstance. And mine is no different. One of my first jobs was working with the Park and Recreation Department. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Worked for Breck, managed the BMX track where I got started. It was such a great experience. I wanted a national event. I wanted to host a national event so bad I could taste it. I was a former racer of BMX and motocross. I knew what those events meant. And I pestered my park director so badly that she finally said, listen, go talk to the guys at the Baton Rouge Sports Foundation. I've coordinated a lunch for you. And that was our sports commission. I had the great opportunity to meet Coach Stovall, who was the CEO over there, and just a great gentleman. And he introduced me to this world of sports tourism and of the marketplace and said, hey, what do you need? And at a young age, prepared a bid, got it out, drove 18 hours and hand delivered my bid to host a national event. And we got awarded it. And after 2 years of hosting that event, They called me one day and said, "Hey, we'd like to hire you on." And 25 years later, I served USA BMX in that capacity and loved it. It was such a great opportunity working for an our space, the national governing bodies, and an entity that was like that. Got to experience of BMX becoming an Olympic sport in two different disciplines, and really learned so many great life lessons and business lessons. About 12 years ago, I got involved in Sports ETA. I wanted to go out and share the message of our great events, and Sports ETA gave me so many incredible lessons. I mean, it propelled the business and the organization of BMX in ways that I can't even detail. You know, in so many ways, it gave this sport recognition and understanding. And soon we started using it actually as a catalyst to build new facilities. I would go to the shows now that I run and meet with people, and they'd be like, "We have no understanding of why we're meeting with you right now. We don't have a BMX track. We don't have a facility in your RFP." And I said, "That's exactly why we're meeting, because I want to work with you to build a BMX track for the future." And it was a different approach. And I guess that approach and just some other success I had there led me to where I'm at today with as the president and the CEO of Sports ETA. But truly, it's that passion. I love tourism. When I raced, my dad, my mom, and I, we went all across the country. And the lessons learned, and that's the biggest mission. That's what we tell our membership in Sports ETA. You have one job: create lifelong memories with every event that you host. That's what sports tourism does. And I have this deep passion for what we do in this industry. And I'll tell you, Stephen, for me, I'm just living my dream. I'm living an absolute dream job. I wake up every morning, pinch myself, and still can't believe I got here because I just get to advocate for what I believe in. And when you can do that for a living, it doesn't get much better.
Completely agree with you. I love to learn. And it took me a while to really get to that realization. And now I learn every day. And one of my favorite quotes is Robert Heinlein, who says, "When one teaches, two learn."
Absolutely said.
It's a fantastic experience for me as well. So you mentioned your folks. How are you most like each of your parents?
Great question. My dad is very analytical. Really loves to think out a process. And I really believe that I garnered a lot of that thought process, thinking it through, the strategy, business acumen from him. He's also my best friend. My mom, I'm incredibly lucky in the fact that that's where I think a lot of the passion comes from, that kind of unbridled passion at times for things. And so, really, just great people to learn from along the way. And more importantly, people that were always willing to just teach a lesson. And that's certainly how I try to do with my own children.
How do you think the people on your team would describe you?
Passionate. I think that would be one of the biggest things that they would say, hungry for growth. I think those are the things that they would say. Now, I also would like to believe that they would also say compassionate for their needs. I inherited this phenomenal team. And after a year, I always laugh at them. I can't believe, I don't know if it feels more like 5 years than 1 year. We're so close and we're tight. And they're just a great group. And I just love working with them.
What do you think is next for the tourism industry as a whole? And then more specifically for the sports tourism market?
The tourism industry is such a wonderful place because people are out there looking for authentic experiences. And I think when we look at content that's out there, everything is driving more towards that authenticity, more unique and great opportunities. And that's where families lean into. That's where people lean into. They want to go and do something that's special, that's unique. So I feel like the tourism industry is going to continue to grow and strong. Obviously, AI and things like that are going to have some unique impacts to it. From a sports tourism perspective, we just got done with our state of the industry report where we partner with tourism economics. And we've seen phenomenal growth. I mean, when we go back and we look at the rebound after the pandemic, it's been spectacular. When we look at millions of sports travelers, we had a 9.7% increase in from 21 to 22 and a 6.7% increase from 22 to 23. And total direct spending of 52.2 billion, total economic impact of 128 billion, $20 billion in tax revenue. And when I quote those numbers, see, it's really important to delineate that's not professional sports. That's not collegiate football. These are actually tourism economics. And when we set this up at Sports ETA, these are events that people bid on and win. So it's movable, biddable events, if you will. for lack of a better term. So what we're seeing in sports tourism is just great growth. We're seeing participation levels from great industries like Sports Fitness Industry Association reporting strong levels of sports participation on the recreational level. That just means even stronger participation down the road for sports tourism. So we see very strong continued growth. And what I love to tell traditional DMOs that may not know much about sports tourism is we plant seeds. And I'll give you just a great personal anecdotal example of that. When I was racing motorcycles and BMX, we used to race in the panhandle of Florida all the time. And I had some of my best races ever there. And the greatest part about it was because you get done with the race on Saturday, then on Sunday, we'd go hang out at Navarre Beach or Pensacola and so forth. I live in Phoenix, Arizona now. Been out here for 25 years. Do you know where I take my family to vacation when they want to go to the beach? The panhandle of Florida. You take a kid and you give them this magical moment, this lifelong memory, that destination is forever elevated. And that's where they want to return to. And I'm just one example of that. So, really, I feel that this vertical is going to continue to prosper and grow and become a larger and larger share of the overall tourism market.
So my dad has a phrase he likes to repeat, and it's you're going to pay for your education one way or another. Sometimes that's tuition, sometimes it's a costly mistake. What is a lesson that you learned in the last year with Sports ETA that may affect how you work going forward?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think this is my first time having the opportunity and the blessing to be a CEO. I was the chief operating officer, then chief strategy officer before my previous job. When you come in your first time, and especially when you're as passionate as me, and I'm coming into an industry that I know very well, a staff that board of directors that I know, that passion and that desire to want to make such profound improvements can get you. If there's anything that I've learned, and I keep telling myself as the year goes down, okay, we can accomplish this, but let's get three things done and then move on to the next. There's certainly been some cases where I've just been a little over aggressive with what I've wanted. It comes from a great place, it's the right initiative, it's the right time. But what starts to happen when you stack things up, it starts to consume your time, and then time is the killer of deals. To me, that's where you get to where you're just too backed up with too many initiatives and you don't have time for the one that needs it, that can be accomplished, and you kill a deal because of too much time. So I think that's been my biggest learning lesson. I knew it going in. I kept telling myself, and for the most part, I did a pretty decent job of controlling it, but there's certainly been a couple of cases where I just really got a little too deep and needed to back out.
You've got to pace yourself.
Exactly.
Outside of work, what is something you're looking to learn this year coming up?
Great question in that one too. I would probably say something that I'd like to spend some time on certainly is finance. And more personal side of it, investments, things of that nature. I think like a lot of people in your career, you're so focused on just going and going, you don't have a time to really educate yourself on where your future is going to be. And then I had an interesting revelation the other day. I was looking at how long it is until I turn 65 and hopefully retire. And I'm like, that's not as long as I thought anymore. And that's definitely a goal of mine that I've set. I'm like, I need to really deep dive into personal finance and make sure that my family is set up for success moving forward. So I'll spend some time studying that when I've got some downtime.
What does downtime look like to you?
I struggle with it. I'll be very honest with you. I think this is a product of the passion that I really care and believe in what I do. When I do get some downtime, it's hiking with my wife. We're blessed to live in the state of Arizona, which is one of the most beautiful states in the country. We love to go to Sedona, to Prescott, to some of these great small towns and just enjoy our mini staycations. We're really, it's crazy, Stephen, within 3 to 4 hours, there's 10 different cities we can go to, stay a couple of nights, cash in my points from all my travel and enjoy some time and just stay away and have a nice dinner, get up and hike and just enjoy it. That's really what we love. We love the outdoors. We love time with family and friends.
What would be your next vacation outside of Arizona?
Yeah, outside of Arizona, that's a good one. We're looking at some opportunities in the fall. I think like you, I love to consume knowledge. I love history. Shockingly, I've traveled just a ton in my lifetime, and I've never had the opportunity to really visit DC. Now, my wife is terribly afraid of that because I am the guy that reads the placards. And so she's just, I get all excited about a museum trip and her not so much, but I love to do that. No international travel this year, maybe next year though, in the future, looking to get back to Europe again. And my wife and I absolutely love Italy. Went there for our honeymoon and can't wait to get back one day soon.
What's something that you wish others knew about your work that they may not, or maybe even a misconception that they might have?
Yeah, I would say and when I think about the question, the audience would be maybe people that are in tourism but don't really know sports tourism. We would love people to always know and understand that anecdotal story that I told you earlier about how sports tourism, you take a young athlete and you plant that seed with them. It's that long-term impact of what it is. And I love corporate travel. Corporate travel is terrific. You create a lot of great memories, but just to me, there's absolutely nothing better than creating a lifelong memory for a family. That's special. And I love to share that passion and share those stories of the impact that our industry makes. And a great statistic to give you an example of that is that 94% of female C-suite professionals at competitive athletics. That is a staggering statistic, especially when you look at the great growth of women's sports today and things of that nature. So just to me, the impact of sports and sports tourism is profound, and that's something that we love to keep sharing.
What would you like to ask me?
Oh, that's a good one, Stephen. I love the work that you do and the information that you get out there, and especially to how you share that personal side of things. As you've had an opportunity to interview so many destination marketing leaders across the United States, what's a common theme that you've witnessed across a lot of this leadership in this landscape?
There are two. One is that, with the exception of two individuals and 100+ interviews, everybody else fell into this industry. And I think the second of those is that they did it because they love to learn,
Mm.
and they loved the contribution back to their communities.
Yeah.
And working in tourism is a way to do just that. People are very passionate about what they do. They're compelled to make a difference.
I love that. One of the things, and certainly is what we call a rights holder event planner. And I was so lucky in my previous job that we were in about 80 different destinations in a year. So we really got to know some great DMOs. And one of the things that I've always loved to see is that when you see great leadership in a DMO, one that's really working at an optimal level, the DMO's ability to change their community is profound. And I have seen it in destination and it repeat itself, where all of a sudden this city in 10 years of buy into that vision are completely changed. And I that's one of the things I love about this industry because whether it's on the sports side or whether it's on a pure tourism side or just destination side, the ability to have an impact is unlike a few others. And to your point about falling into it and falling into the industry, that's certainly something we're focusing on in Sports ETA is having the ability to go into our markets when we host an event, to work with our local colleges and our local students in the area to advocate, for our industry, to explain what it is. Because in so many cases, people, especially with the sports side, they go get a sports management degree. They think they're going to go be an agent. They have no idea that there's this amazing niche in tourism that combines impact to their community or helping run a national governing body or so forth. We've got some great partnerships. We partner with NCAA for our women's summit where we speak to a bunch of athletes, but we'll in the future be actually speaking to college students at every single one of our events to help advocate for this industry.
I like that. It really comes down to education and learning. Is there anything I didn't ask that you wish I did?
No, I think that was terrific. Honestly, I think the association as a whole, I think what's unique and maybe that I didn't mention earlier is really the scope of what all we do, whether it's research, where we provide great background with some of the numbers that I mentioned earlier, or education. And to your point, I know you're such an avid learner. We've got an unbelievable learning management system that is loaded with educational courses. For example, adaptive sports, we just dropped a class on adaptive sports. It's a 3-hour course where one of the best in the business is teaching how do you adapt into that space, how to work well with those athletes. Camera ready. We had a great professional because of programming like this and podcast opportunities and things. And we've got to teach our destination marketing leadership how to get the camera ready. You got the event, you got the media there. How do you get prepped in front of the camera to do a great TV interview? So I'm really proud of the education portfolio, and we're trying to cover the resource gap as well. We just dropped a white paper, the first one of four, on sports tourism housing. It sounds like a crazy thing, but there's no written documentation that really teaches our event planners, our rights holders, how to navigate housing and that importance. Meeting planners of traditional corporate events, they know that stuff like the back of their hand. Sports, it's a different animal. You're bringing in 100 teams to a destination, and there's unique challenges there. And so, certainly, any of the listeners that want to learn more, simply go to sportseta.org, and we've got a tremendous amount of information for you.
Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in to Business Class. This episode was brought to you by Learn Tourism, the nonprofit academy where we advance the tourism industry with cutting-edge training and sustainable practices. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to visit learntourism.org to learn more about our programs and how you can get involved. Until next time, stay curious, continue learning and making a difference through tourism.